Hey.
You said
you are on.
Alright, peace, y'all. We back, alright? And we needed to take that break, man. It was a necessary function. Alright? I didn't want to cut my man, Reese, because he was getting into some real heavy shit, alright? You know, cosmophysically, and I want him to continue, alright? During the break, he said something about vocation, so I'm going to let him pick it back up. You prepared, dog?
Okay, yeah, well, back to what we were talking about, the natal promise and what that brings to you. When you are educated on what your ascendant or rising sign is, it gives you a better idea of what you should pursue as far as vocation that will bring you the reputation, the status, and fulfill your highest potential in your life so that you could be more fulfilled and try to accomplish the things in this lifetime that you were sent here to do, okay? And so we were talking about the different risings, so I was just giving a hint for each of the risings. I'm just going to start and be really quick with it. You know, people who are Libra rising have Cancer in the 10th house, and these are some of your best mothers in the world, some of the best nurturers in the world, you know, things of that sort. And
good cooks, because Cancer rules cooking, yeah.
That's cooks in the world of Libra risings, you know. And then, you know, you have then you have Scorpio rising, which we talked about earlier, which Leo is in the 10th, and these are some of your best actors and administrators and some of the best kings that ever walked the face of the earth who were Scorpio risers, you know, most benevolent.
You also said to a mutual student of ours, you made mention, and he asked me about it, but this is because of you. He said, yo, what does it mean when Reese said that most Scorpio riders have famous children? What does that mean? I explained it, but I want to hear your view.
What did you say, Uncle?
You said on the Academy of COZMOPHYZIX that Scorpio riders have famous children, and he wanted to know how that could be or what that means. Yeah, so tell us what you meant. I'm going to elaborate after you, okay?
Okay.
Elaborate first. Unless you want me to elaborate first.
Scorpio risings have, when we were just talking about the natal promise in the 10th house of highest potential or fame. Remember, 10th house is also fame and reputation, which you get famous for. And since it has Leo there, and Leo is the universally indicative of children, or the first child or oldest child, you understand that that's normally their first child, their oldest child, or their children get famous.
Yeah, or get some type of notoriety, exactly. And that's exactly what I told him. Because he asked me, he said, yo. I like that jewel right there. I appreciate that jewel right there. Yeah, because you're a Scorpio rising. But it's a natal promise under that interpretation. So that's why I said I was going to elaborate when you're done, or I'll elaborate before. It didn't make it different. Simply because you have Leo in the 10th house doesn't mean your kid going to be famous. So get up off there. What it does mean on the lowest vibration mean that your kid will be popular. Okay? You're gonna have a popular child. This is the natal promise. Now whether that popularity reaches out to the extent that it receives public acclaim, or whether they receive popularity in elementary school, junior high school, or college, it doesn't make a difference. This child will receive some type of notoriety, of some type of popularity. And he asked me how that could be. I said, because Scorpio at the ascendant has 12 other signs involved in that. You know, Scorpio at the ascendant indicates the character and the projection and the preferred mode of expression for the individual who carries Scorpio at the ascendant, because that's what the ascendant is. Whatever sign is there indicates your preferred mode of expression, and voluntarily or involuntarily. This is how you express yourself through the first, and
also Scorpios that ascended tend to push their children to success.
Oh, okay, good. That's all good. I'm going to continue.
Here's an example of that. MARKHU's on the phone, and I know he's been teaching his seed this science for a long time. And so we have already someone on the phone who lives that, who pushes his daughter to the utmost, to the highest potential, because he's been teaching her cosmophysics I'm going to say since she was a little girl.
No, but she is a little girl now.
Well, how old is she, MARKHU?
She's 7.
How long you been teaching her, MARKHU?
I've been teaching her before she even came out of the womb. I was speaking to her the signs in the womb. But
hold on. How were you doing that? How were you doing that? How were you doing that? Let me explain. Don't state. Elaborate. I was the time before she was born.
I was doing that because in my school of thought, and my feeling was at the time when she was in the womb that I could have a relationship with her. She didn't have to be outside of the womb in order for me to have a relationship with her. So I would communicate with her through vibrating through the belly button of her mother and speaking to her the science of astrology and actually a lot about Egypt and the Metu Neter at the time that she was probably negative 6 months or 6 months of being into the womb. And I have the position that you're speaking of as a Scorpio rising. I not only have Leo in the 10th house, but the sun shines in the 5th house. So it has a lot to do with...
Yeah. The 5th house being ruled by the sun is
it has a lot to do. It has a lot to do with my my child or children expressing themselves and achieving, which is the 10th house. And expressing themselves, which is Leo, in the 10th house, where my Jupiter sits. So, you know, as an astrologer studying for a long time, I can admit that, you know, I still learn as being a forever a student in the science.
Okay. Well, can I go now? Can I go now?
Go ahead.
All right. To go back, let me rewind it, because Reese dropped that on a mutual student of ours. That student came to me after Reese said it. I wanted to elaborate on that, all right, to get an understanding for him, because I know he's listening, and for anyone else, all right. You know, Pluto in the 1st house also does that. So for those people born between 1961 and 1972, they push their children to gain and gain prominence in the public, because the 10th house deals with the public, all right? And them having Leo there, you know, like we said, it propels an individual to motivate themselves or to possess the inclination, you know, whether they act upon it or not, is to push their children to fame or prominence. You know, don't get it twisted. The 10th house represents fame. On another note, it represents prominence. So it has nothing to do with, it doesn't have to have anything to do with fame. They don't have to become famous. These Scorpios push their children to be prominent, like the mothers or the fathers of all of these pageant queens, child pageant queens. I guarantee you most of them are Scorpio rising, you know? And how do you know you're a Scorpio rising? Let's deal with that, all right? The natal promise in that is that you will suffer some degree or have some issue with the lungs or the nerves or injury to the arms, shoulders, shoulder blades, collarbones, you know, fingers. This promises you the Scorpio rise. This is the promise of Scorpio rising. As dismal as that sounds, you know, I had an episode this week with a young lady who I asked her what her ailments were, and she said to me, you're dealing on the negative. Well, that's only negative because you don't like it. But what is promised is that a certain ascendant will have a certain physical disability. This is the means to which we use to verify the ascendant on a physical level. Once we determine that, we don't have to dwell on it. I don't need to scare you to death as to what will ail you for the rest of your life, but I need to know what's been ailing you in order to establish the ascendant so that everything else good can come from the chart. Right? It's called the 8th place method. Right? I'm not going to get into it any further than that, but I'm going to say this. Leo in the 10th house means that the individual desires that their children gain prominence, that they act that their children gain prominence, and that in one form or another, voluntarily or involuntarily, because we're dealing with the natal promise, that which you were promised at your birth, that your children will attain that. So the brother asked me, to bring it back to a level of understanding for the lowest aptitude. He said to me, man, what was he talking about? Your man said the people with Leo rising with Scorpio rising have famous children. I said, well, it doesn't necessarily mean fame, but it definitely means prominence. So, because Leo, the sign of children, is in that public house, this is what you're getting. Now, for those of you who just tuned in, we're talking about the natal promise here. Every single aspect in your chart is a promise. You see, it isn't just those aspects that trine or conjunct. You have other configurations in your chart that involve 4 or 8, 2, 4, 8, or even 10 planets. The midpoint of all of your planets, whether